I do have a lot of wildly creative peeps, and so I corral 8 creatives, and there's a lot of different directions they go. But I'm going to talk today about some of the things those creative peeps have put together in an amazing process. So at Little Bird Marketing, we're all about actually implementing strategy. There are a lot of great ideas out of there. I love it when people take me, I want to pick your brain, I've got a great idea. Well, the question is, will you actually execute on that idea? So we like to refer to ourselves sometimes as the executioners, because that's where it comes, that's where the money's made, right? When things are executed. So today I'm going to talk about amplifying your thought leadership. Oh, is there a clicker somewhere? I didn't get the clicker. Oh, okay. Thank you. So I've been asked to talk about amplifying your thought leadership, and I'm going to give you very practical, actionable items today, practical tips to actually be seen as an expert in your field. I probably should have capitalized seen, because we're not going to talk necessarily about the strategy of what you talk about. But Scott, I will answer that question at the end, because I think it will tie back in. I think that's a good question that everybody would benefit from the answer. So I'm going to talk about actually how to be seen. This is my hashtag. Does anybody else want to add this for Twitter? Let's talk about thought leadership. I've got somebody behind me there. I have Steve's presentation somehow behind me. Is that there? I love you, Steve, but you don't need your presentation behind me. Okay. One back here. Thought leadership. I'm not going to teach you how to be a thought leader. In my opinion, thought leadership is like jazz. If I have to explain it to you, forget it. We're done. So if you have to ask somebody if you're a thought leader, probably not a thought leader. So I'm not going to talk actually about becoming a thought leadership or tips about how to do that kind of thing, or discussing it, explaining what is going on. I don't want to click anywhere. Let's just enjoy these days. I want to go up to, yeah. No. Okay. Okay. Oh, look, me and Steve were on the same line together. Anybody want to click there and add some notes for me? I'll just throw it into the presentation. Okay, let's go back to these cool people. Okay, so thought leaders come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. Visionaries, inspirational speakers, radical thought leaders, revolutionaries, etc. I will say one thing before we move on to actual presentation about thought leadership, is that I think there is a real danger in this market of people only doing point of view thought leadership. Oh, here's my interesting take. That's not the only way to do thought leadership. You can do thought leadership in a lot of different ways. Let that soak in, and then you can take that with you. That's all I'm going to say about actually how to go about doing thought leadership. But really, what we do at Little Bird Marketing is we start with strategy. So, but today I've been asked to move right into tactics. So Steve gave a really good presentation about strategy, stop, think before you do. So I'm going to have everybody raise your right hand and promise me that if I dive right into the, no, I'm serious, raise your right hand. I'm not joking. Raise your right hand and promise me that you will not do any of these tactics until you think about strategy. Yes, are we in agreement? Okay, thank you. The problem about that is people go out very quickly and either do actions or they mimic someone in the market. Oh, look, this thought leader is doing this. Let's do that. The problem is that they didn't think through, they don't know what the strategy was. They're going to get certain results. They're not going to get results that are completely bent around their goals and their strategies. So please don't do that. But we're going to dive right into tactics, since you've all given me that sworn agreement. And we're going to talk about best practices of what we implement. We've built our complete proprietary system around amplifying our clients' thought leadership, around building their clout, about actually reaching their most desirable, absolutely ideal client target market, right? So once all those things are done, we've got to then just get shit done, right? So you're out there, you're speaking. And maybe also it's not just you that's speaking. Raise your hand if you're the CEO. Okay, now raise your hand if you're in the management. Okay. So I just want to put one interesting idea out there for you. Keep in mind that the thought leadership that's going on in your company is not necessarily coming from the C-suite. Very possibly it's not. Unfortunately, I see in thought leadership, a lot of times the only time they spend money to actually put it out there in a reach is if it's the CEO. I think that's a really poorly, a real poor idea about marketing strategy. Sometimes you have an incredible light that's not on your marketing management team, and that's completely lost. So we're going to talk about, if you are a thought leader, if someone in your C-suite's a thought leader, if someone in your team is a thought leader, how do we roll this amazing talent into our marketing strategy? So we're going to dive right in. You're going to go start speaking. You start blogging. You start writing papers. Gets picked up. But there's nobody listening. So we're going to talk about actual tactic best practices we use in content marketing to actually get the word out. The first thing people do is, when they have thought leadership, is start blogging, right? It's the easiest entry, the ramp's right there, we have a website, we might as well blog. You know, we need content anyway. Oh my gosh, somebody in the CMO office is just scrambling around. Somebody give me a blog, you know? So that's usually where we go. The thing is that what happens with that is people are not creating the content for the right reasons. They are also not looking at the actual keywords. So, man, this is hard for me, but I'm going to dive right into best practices, okay? So first of all, if you have an actual thought leadership piece, let's take that easiest ramp on. Let's say you already have a piece that's done. Before you just take it, throw it out on the web, these are some things you need to think about and plan for. First of all, review the content for keywords. So I'm going to come back to, Scott, your question about SEO. Yes, SEO, it is important for keywords, but I got to tell you, the reason why I want to talk about that right now is that if you have an SEO firm that is still telling you that keywords is what is going to work, you have the wrong SEO team. I guarantee you that. Because with artificial intelligence, the search engines are getting so much better, so much more intuitive. Keywords are fading and fading as a good prediction of how you're going to be found. It is so much more intuitive about that. And so instead, you should be talking with an SEO firm who's talking with you about creating your content in a cluster of ideas that are related to each other in an interesting, intuitive way, because the relationship between keywords, the relationship between multiple pieces of content on your site is absolutely going to drive your SEO far beyond the standard keywords, or even then there's some that are working in long tail keywords. Okay, there's something far beyond those things. So looking for keywords, though, is still important. It's important because you have to actually understand where your content piece fits in the actual topic cluster. Also, I see this incredibly, it happen so often, it's almost crazy to me. They put in a terrific blog, maybe a terrific picture in the blog, a couple of maybe graphs, a couple of charts, maybe the photo of the CEO who actually wrote the thought leadership piece. And there is no alt text in the back of that photo. To a search engine, that's a blank box. That's nothing. And so if you look at even video or photos, that's great for SEO. You're already winning when you put a photo or a video into your blog, and yet you don't alt text it. The SEO engine has no idea what that content is. So absolutely has to be done. Social media promotion. This is a bigger part of a series. I talk about the future of social media, and I've done that here with Green Book before, but I have a 15 rule. Every time you post something, you have to think in the rule of 15. 10 of those have to be something helpful, sharing what's going on in the industry, something that's immediately intriguing about your target market. 4 of those can be actually directed at a real tool, something very, very helpful for your target market, and then you get 1 shot. For every time you do that 10 and 4, you get 1 shot to sell something, 1 shot to talk about yourself, one shot to connect. And that's how we keep that balance. So in doing this, we like to keep that rule of 15, but also if you are going to actually write a piece and put it on a blog, that's where most people stop. There we are, we're done. And I can't think of a bigger waste of your time and energy and talent than that. So a minimum for the year, you're going to actually go out and do 20 social media promotion, 1 per quarter. If you just do this, LinkedIn and Facebook 1 a quarter and 1 tweet per month for that piece of content, you're already winning. Okay, do not waste a piece of thought leadership out there and then it's a one-time, one-off post. I couldn't even survive on that, yeah.
So you said 10 helpful, 4?
10 need to be intriguing. 4 need to be helpful. Tools, here's a guide, here's a whatever, and then you get 1 shot to ask for the business. Keeps that balance, right? We have to be building that rapport. And then also, a lot of people miss this. Once you've posted it somewhere else, why not post it on LinkedIn as an actual article? They don't call it blogging there, they call them articles. So, but I see that this is missed all the time. The beauty about that is that it's so linkable, and one of the things that people aren't anticipating is how much more important your links and backlinks from social media are becoming, okay, in terms of ranking. So there's another SEO question for you answered. SEO revealed, that should be my next one. So a lot of people ask me about the first thing I mentioned with the keywords. We are HubSpot certified. We obviously go very deep in keyword research. We have an amazing tool in the actual dashboard. If you don't, that's cool. Keyword.io. There's a lot of free other services out there to do it. So please don't make it an excuse like, oh, we don't have a fancy dashboard. Just go out and do some actual keyword research. Okay, podcasts. Any podcast fans out there? Love to listen to them? Just shout it out. What's a couple of podcasts you listen to, keep up with? Freakonomics, yeah, it was amazing. What's that? More Perfect, okay. What's that? Radiolab, oh my gosh, so good. I lose days into Radiolab. But there are a lot of podcasts out there. I think in terms of thought leadership, this is a really untapped idea. The blog thing we talked about is where you're using your own platform. Okay, this is our own website, it's an easy on-ramp. Well, guess what? Don't worry about spending the next 2 years paying somebody else to build your platform. Don't worry about that for today. I think you should go ahead and start paying someone to build your platform. But if you don't have it built, go put your thought leadership out on someone else's platform. They've been so careful to build. This is how you make immediate expansion of your audience. So I put a couple of ideas up here, and depending on where, where you are actually fit in the market industry, you might try some different podcasts. But keep in mind that your competitors are going to go out after maybe some of the same podcasts within market research. Why not think outside of that box? Why not think about just business in general? Don't you think a CEO that's listening to an actual podcast about entrepreneurship or about growth hacking would be interested in how market research could help them hack growth? So think outside of your actual zone and try and get onto some other podcasts where it's a quick 30-minute interview and you get to talk about your expertise, you get to be seen as the expert, and that person gets what they need, which is another guest for content to create it, right? Win-win. Here's just a couple of ideas. This is my Ponderings from the Perch podcast. I get to talk about whatever I want to, it's my show. So the nice thing about this that people don't really foresee is to think, oh, great, I got on a podcast, which is what we do when we're trying to build clout for an executive. But they go, okay, great, we were on that show. That's so cool. Let me assure you, not much is going to come of that, of you just being on that show. First of all, you had to have some kind of a call to action in that show, whether that leads back to your website or to a landing page or somewhere else. But the other thing is that that is a piece of content. And if you think of that as a one-off again, you're back to where you started. So I pulled up one. This was one that I was featured in, I think last year. And so I was on this podcast, which they ended up promoting. This company was amazing. They did so much promotion for me, put it out on the PR wire. It was just like, it was awesome, right? And then, so this is on their website. They put my picture, they put who I am, all these nice backlinks. I'm here with all these amazing pros. Thank you, thank you. But I took that podcast, you send it in, get it transcribed, voila, we have a new piece of content. And I didn't even have to bother the CEO to interview them again because they were just interviewed by someone else. Someone else just did my work for me. That's what I'm looking for, by the way. How can someone else do my work? So another good presentation I should probably do. So social media promotion also for this, don't forget that if you leave this as a one-off, you're losing. So back to the same nice little takeaway of our rule of 20 more promotions for that actual piece. Also, again, repost it on LinkedIn. The people who have you on their show appreciate the backlinks, appreciate all the connections, and you get the mileage from it, okay? So if you get on a podcast, make sure you go the extra mile for it. The last thing I want to talk about as a little tip is the old blog roundup, okay? So again, the second one, the first one was on your own on your own platform. The second one for podcasts is get on someone else's platform that's really awesome. This is also get on someone else's platform that is really awesome. There are people in your industry, in the vertical that you serve, who are doing blog roundups. They need content. They're desperate for content. Why not provide them the content and let them do all the promotional work? So one very easy thing you can do without having to be a massive strategist and have an amazing dashboard is that you can simply go to Google and do search blog roundup, whatever it is. What's your subject matter? What's your thought leadership? What is it you want to talk about? What do people come and ask you about? Put that in. I will say this though, you absolutely need to go over to tools on the top, and you'll get a couple of other options here. And that will, you really need to cull it down and bring it to the past month, the last couple of weeks. You don't want to know someone who wrote a blog roundup 3 years ago on your subject matter. You want to know someone who's going to be doing one tomorrow about it. So you can jump on board and say, hey, you know, I know you do a lot of blog roundups in marketing research space. I have an article about this idea, any way I could fit on that. It is amazing to be listed with many other experts. Some people shy away from that because they think, oh, that's not just me featured on that blog. Being associated with amazing people in your industry can be a powerful part of increasing your clout, right? Amplifying your thought leadership. Okay, so I'll end with this. Again, I made you swore about strategy. Before you even create strategy, make sure you know who your audience is. If you have not done your persona work, go back and do your persona work. I have that as a free resource. But then I have something a little bit fun for you today. There's all kinds of free resources on my website, but I also have a really fun one. I have a quiz. Probably there's the main screen on our website. There's me, and pretty much somewhere down below me there's another button. And you can take a quick quiz and find out what kind of thought leader are you. Are you a revolutionary, visionary, inspirational, radical leader? But it does help you begin to think about your topics and cluster your topics around your area of expertise in a way that feels right to you. A way that doesn't feel like you're just doing, dog and pony show and, it's the me show. But you're doing it and being able to put it together in a way that makes sense for your audience and makes you very comfortable about the way that you're speaking about your expertise. So go take that quiz, it's super fun. And I can take probably one or two questions. So, yes, Scott.
You mentioned reposting things that you were in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry. I didn't follow the rules, Dana, I'm sorry.
You mentioned reposting things that you were in, and I wonder, I'm a once and done. I feel people saw it, they don't want to see it again. Mm-hmm. But you're saying it's okay to go ahead and repetitively get this stuff out there because they might not have seen it the first time, or they might not have remembered it, or I don't know.
No, they didn't see it. No, not may not. They did not see it the first time.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. Unless you were sitting stalking me, you did not see what I did. So I love that. I would love to change that mindset. You really, as soon as I say this, someone's going to get all up on me, but you cannot overpost on social media. Okay, now I gave you some guidelines.
What about email marketing?
Well, email marketing, you have to think about the audience, and you have to think if they're expecting to hear from you. You're not like people knocking on my door when I'm not expecting them to come over. I mean, I could be naked, know. So you have to think about with email marketing, oh my gosh, this is how I think. What if they're naked? Are they going to want to open this door? So I think about that. Do they want to hear this again? Email marketing is definitely more once and done. However, I say that when I have an actual, like the persona guide, for example, I have a really meaty piece of content that is helpful to my clients, it builds rapport, I would send that out on email 4 times a year. That's in my whole system, right? So I have a micro actions that get put on my project management, and something that meaty and that good, 4 emails. 4 blogs, that end in a call to action, and then at least 20 social media posts. So they're like, we don't even create a lead generation piece without those as just absolutely a standard. I will say this, as I'm standing here today, I have over 2,000 social media posts that are written, keyword strategized, hashtagged, and graphicked, and scheduled for the next year, right? So I'm not very stressed right now, right? So I'm not gonna run into the office on Monday and be like, what are we gonna post on social media? What do our people wanna hear? I already planned that a year ago. And so you have to come out of the once and done mentality in order to start getting really good traction on your content. Does that make sense? Yeah, back there. Sorry, we gotta wait for the mic.
So I just want to get back to this. You said you have 2,000 events. Are you using a software? I mean, I'm just looking through my phone because my boss sent me this link to look at this software that like aggregates and helps you like plan out all the social media. Mm-hmm. Do you have one of those?
Well, we are HubSpot certified, okay? So everybody on my team is completely certified on HubSpot. And so what that means is that on that, and you can call me up for a free demo. I'll show you the dashboard and you don't have to get into their sales system. I'll give you a quick once over. But having a dashboard, I call it the Fellowship of the Rings effect. I have one dashboard to unite them all. Yeah. Okay, so that's all I got to do today. I just got to go to HubSpot. And then we use for project management Trello. I can't live without Trello and HubSpot. If those go away, I'm out. Okay, I'm going to go, start renting bicycles on the beach. So much easier. It doesn't take any planning. But what I'm talking about is that doesn't happen overnight. That's taken me a long time to get to. It takes us about 2 months to get a client to about 600, 700, 800 number. And then within 6, they're up to the 1,800 number. Yeah, And the reason is because we don't go do it all at one time like you're thinking. It's not like we just go and aggregate. I know what kind of softwares you're talking about where they churn them out. That's not it. These are all carefully crafted, curated social media posts. The only difference is that we did them all, like for every blog, I did 20. Okay, so then think about how many blogs we have. They add up because they are a part of everything we do. When I'm on a podcast, I get so many of those. When I do a lead gen piece, I get so many of those. They add up so fast, it's crazy, right? So don't be guided by the number or by aggregating them. Be guided by the content, the strategy of the content instead, and getting that word out. Is that helpful? Yeah, one more.
Hi, Brianna Silver. My question is related to channels for posting on social media, not channels like Twitter or LinkedIn, but more like, how do you use differently and or the same, like a company channel, a company LinkedIn page or a company Facebook page versus a personal LinkedIn page or personal Facebook page with this 20 posting strategy type of thing?
That's a great question. The simple answer is, as far as we're concerned with content marketing, we post to the company page. It is the company that is delivering this information. You, as an employee, C-suite, whatever it is, you share from that page. That does two things. Number one, it frees you from this came from me, right? So, and it also gives love and what I call, social media juju back to, I have a lot of these like really, very technical terms, but it gives that love back to your LinkedIn or to your Facebook homepage for the company disseminating the information, which boosts them in the ranking, and so the company is earning the clout for it. Now, you may get more interactions on your own piece, but think about this, work with companies that have 50, 100 employees, and I put out something on their LinkedIn. Well, I'm not asking them to go, whatever I put out on Tuesday, go share on Tuesday. Oh my gosh, that's all the same information. I'm saying everybody on the team is responsible to go, when they open LinkedIn, go find something in the last week, in the last month, that we posted to the company page that is relevant to the people they're talking to. You'll find something. We created tons of content and the company paid me for it. Don't put the pressure on yourself to go create something new. So it's a double strategy to do it that way. Does that make sense?
We do have a little more time. I think there's a question over here.
Sure.
Do you want to take one more?
Hi, just piggybacking on the social media stuff, you had a point about posting articles on LinkedIn, and I wanted to get your thoughts on sort of posting that full version of an article, because you can only do that on an individual LinkedIn page versus a company LinkedIn page where you can just post the link right back to your website.
Right.
So one of the things I've been doing is I've been encouraging people to just use sort of excerpts of the article and then always link it back to the company website versus posting. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, if that you think that's a right approach.
You're hired. Yes, that will work. I think that's a great idea because, again, you're using your personal clout in order to say, oh, isn't my company great, right? And by linking it that strategically, it makes good sense on the business side. But you have to just make sure, does it make sense on the helpful to my client or to my ideal client side? If it does, I think that's a really beautiful way of thinking it. Don't post just the first paragraph and say, read more. Post the excerpt that was the most meaningful to you and say, I love this article our company put out. What was really meaningful is this. Do you want to read more? Bring that person and that personality up to it and you will absolutely win. And it's another backlink. So if you want to just check off the boxes, technically, you're doing what needs to be done. But you're right, that it is different about the company. But we will, if we're doing a project where we're just amplifying the thought leadership of a particular manager or CEO or something like that, we will use the articles extensively. And even in that, is that sometimes we will post the full articles because we don't want to tire people out. Oh yeah, I got to go to their website. So we'll do a mix. I don't think there's a good, it's just you kind of feel it, a little bit of an art form. Sometimes post the whole article, someone goes, okay, I read the whole thing, that's fine. If they want more, we can put a CTA. But you can also do a nice excerpt. I'd say mix it up. The last thing I'd say about that, a lot of people, they underuse the LinkedIn articles. And I know right now people are thinking, oh, it's kind of okay to use. These social media channels, all they do is build these services in because later on they have big plans for them. So the people who get in at the beginning are usually rewarded when those plans change heavily, right? So finding little spots that are underused, and I think the LinkedIn article posting is very underused. So also remember that the people who are using it, a lot of them are kind of boring. So you have a big opportunity there if you add a photo, do a lot of interesting backlinks, just take a little bit of time, put a little bit of love into it, and you'll see much better returns.
Thank
Sound
you.
good? Awesome. Thank you so much.